Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Welcome back to the Mission Driven Muslims channel, and we are the Mission Driven Muslims. This channel is all about inspiring Muslims to rebuild the Ummah and work together as one to accomplish the goals and the mission Allah has prescribed on us, all of which was practiced by the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, and his companions. In the end, our goal is to be able to meet Allah with the statement, truly, my prayer and my service of sacrifice, my life and my death are all for Allah, the cherisher of the worlds. Last time, Brother Halim reminded us of the importance of being a good follower before being a good leader. Today, Brother Halim will be mentioning about the power of one, and no matter your current state, you always have the ability to help others for the better. Without further ado, I'll bring it up to Brother Halim. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Halim.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم أما بعد. Alhamdulillah, this week what I want to talk about is possibilities. I want to talk a bit about the reality of our possibility to change the world. Today, we always think about global impact with the internet and these, the various forms of media. We're always looking at how many friends a person has and their followers, and this amount of followers, this amount of audience that a person can accumulate. We equal that to, we take that to mean that this is this person's ability to influence. And so the amount of friends, or the amount of followers, or the amount of audience that a person has automatically equals in our minds a person's ability to influence. And we see people wanting today to become some kind of public speaker. We see them wanting to be celebrities or as something like this. Yani they want to be, for lack of better terms, everyone wants to be famous. And they want to be famous claiming that they want to be influencers to do good. They want to be callers to Allah. They want to be they want to teach other people. They want to be a guide to call people to what is right. And so they see the only way to do this as being people who can draw in a crowd, or someone who can address large amounts of people at a single time. And today, really what I want to focus on is our true possibility to influence other people, our real possibility to impact the world around us. I want to talk about the power of the individual, regardless of your background, to make a difference in the world around you. Amongst the companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and there's so many examples of this. Amongst them was a young man in Mecca who he was from a noble family from amongst the Quraysh. He was respected by the elders, so that even as a child he was invited into their councils. His family was wealthy. He was well taken care of. He was kept in fineries and luxury and these types of things. But once he entered into Islam, all of that changed. He was harmed. He was oppressed by his own family to the point that he was actually even forced to flee from Mecca and go to Abyssinia in order to protect himself. And a couple years after that, he returned home hoping that the situation, that his conditions would have improved, but he was forced to flee again. And so he went from this state of wealth and nobility and this state of richness, if we can say that, to one of poverty. And not just poverty, but I don't want to say isolation. I would say, no, this is good enough, inshallah. And so due to these harsh conditions, Mus'ab ibn Umair, may Allah be pleased with him, his physical appearance deteriorated, meaning that in his body became weaker because obviously he didn't have the same foods to eat, but also his appearance, yani his dress, deteriorated. So he went from wearing the finest of clothes to the coarsest of clothes. But with that, his character shone forth more radiant. His personality became more beautiful. His iman grew, and he became a shining light. amongst the companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And so, despite his youth and alhamdulillah, we say despite the fact that he was young and there were people older than him, despite the fact that he didn't spend a lot of time with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because he had went to Abyssinia, he came back, he went back to Abyssinia, so he's not someone who had spent a lot of time with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Let me be clear, he's not someone who spent as much time as others from amongst the companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So others knew more than him. They had learned more from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam than him. Yet still, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam chose him as his envoy. He chose him as his ambassador to Yathrib before the Hijrah. He chose him to go and talk to the people of Medina, which was known then as Yathrib, go talk to them about Islam and pave the way for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the message of Islam. His eloquence and his ability to manifest the Quran in his character, not just to recite Quran, not just to read Quran, not just to know Quran, but to bring life to the Quran in his own being. This is what elevated him above the others for this role. And we find in Yathrib, he was calling the people, and some people were receptive, and some people rejected the message. And again, we want to remember that Medina was a major metropolitan area. It was a big city. You had people from all over living there, people of different backgrounds, people of different faiths, people of different economic classes, and so forth and so on. And he went to one particular neighborhood, and when he was calling the people, a man came to him. His name was Usaid ibn Hudayr. He came to him with a spear, and he started yelling at him. And he said, "Why have you come here to corrupt our young and our weak? If you want to stay alive, you'll stay away from us." Right? And so when this happened, Mus'ab, he remained calm. He smiled, and he said to this man, he said, "Won't you sit down and just talk with me? Just listen to what I have to say. You're an intelligent and wise man. Listen to what I'm saying. And if you like what I'm saying, you can accept it. And if you dislike what I'm saying, not only will I stop, meaning not only will I stop talking to you, but I'll even leave the neighborhood, meaning I won't come back. I'll do what you said. He said, if you just sit down and listen to the message that I'm calling to, if you like it, then you can accept it. If you don't like it, I'll go ahead and leave." And so Usaid agreed to this, and he sat down and he listened to what was being said, and he entered Islam. And this happened again and again with Mus'ab, where he would sit with people, he would talk with them, he would explain to them what the message of Islam was. And upon hearing the message, not just hearing about it, but actually hearing the message itself, the people entered Islam. And so in 1 year, it's a safe estimate to say that over 100 people entered Islam at the hands of Mus'ab ibn Umair through his efforts, through his interpersonal efforts. Around 100 people entered Islam. And where's this estimate come from? When the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam took the first pledge from the people of Yathrib, 12 people gave the pledge. The very next year, after Mus'ab radiallahu anhu returned back to Yathrib to call the people, the next year, 1 year later, 70 people came on pilgrimage to give the pledge of allegiance to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And so why do I say 100? Because these are the 70 that could make it. What about those who couldn't make it? And all of this was due to the interpersonal interactions, due to conversations that he was having with people, due to his addressing them and calling them to what was true and what was upright. And so we have this example of this person who he was young and he didn't know as much as some of his elders. And he used to be wealthy. He came from a wealthy background, but he also knew poverty. He also knew struggle. He also knew striving. And he was able to influence these people. But we have another example. We have an example of someone who came from one of the roughest tribes. The entire tribe was known to be criminals. Right? He came from a tribe called Ghaffar. And Ghafar was a tribe, they didn't do agriculture, they didn't do trade, they didn't do arts and crafts, they didn't do any of these things that people normally do to survive. There was no bringing up sheep or anything like that. Their main way of commerce was they would wait for the caravans to come through and they would set upon them and rob them. So they, not only that, but they competed with a neighbor tribe called Banu Aslam, the tribe of Aslam. So Banu Aslam and Banu Ghafar, the tribe of Aslam and the tribe of Ghafar, they used to compete with one another to see who could rob the biggest caravans, who could get the most loot, if you would. These were some of the most notorious tribes in Arabia at that time. And from the tribe of Ghafar, a man named Abu Dhar, and we know him as Abu Dhar al-Ghafari, he entered Islam very early. Very early, and and when he entered Islam, he only spent a couple of days with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And there's a beautiful story here, but we because of time we'll keep it short and we'll say he only spent days with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And so, what did he learn in those few days? He learned wudu and prayer. He learned how to purify himself, yani how to make a ritual washing, and he learned how to pray. He learned how, he learned the few ayat that had already been revealed. Excuse me. He learned the importance of enjoining good and forbidding evil. He knew without a doubt, La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, that there is no God other than Allah and Muhammad is his messenger. But after just spending a few days and learning these few things, the Prophet ﷺ sent him back to his people and he said, don't return to me until you hear of me. In other words, until word of my mission reaches your people. And then around 15 years later, the Prophet ﷺ was in Medina, and there was a movement on the horizon, a dust cloud, and people could feel the earth moving like a large mass was coming out towards them. So the Prophet ﷺ, he sent a scout out to see who this was, because it seemed as though an army was approaching Medina. And the scout came back and said, this is no army. There's old people, there's elderly people, there's women, there's young children with them. This isn't an army. So the Prophet ﷺ took an entourage and he went out to meet them. And a man came up to him and he said, do you know who I am? And the Prophet ﷺ said, yes, I know who you are. You're Abu Dhar al-Ghafari. Who are these people? And Abu Dhar said, this is the tribe of Ghafar and this is the tribe of Aslam. They've come to enter Islam. And so over a 15-year period, two entire tribes embraced Islam. And these aren't just any tribes. These are Banu Ghafar and Banu Aslam. These are two of the roughest, most notorious tribes. These are tribes of, again, known to be criminals. I mean, they were highwaymen. That's what they did. Right? But because of the efforts of one individual and his ability to relate to them on a human level, his ability to communicate to them in a way that they understood it, these two entire tribes came to enter Islam at the hands of the Prophet ﷺ. He didn't know much. Abu Dhar, he didn't have a lot of knowledge. He only spent days with the Prophet ﷺ, but he believed and he was sincere. And we wanted to share these stories because every single one of us, each of us, we have the power, we have the potential to impact the lives of other people. We have the ability to address people on a human level, to talk to them, to speak to them in a way that they understand, to help them when they need help, to support them when they need support, to feed them when they're hungry. We have the ability to affect the lives of other people, but we have to be sincere and connect to the hearts and minds of other individuals, not the masses, but to individuals. We have the ability to change the world, even if it's one drop at a time. We have the ability to change our world if only we believe. And success is with Allah alone. Jazakallahu khair.
Jazakallah khair, Brother Halim, for another awakening, inspiring talk. I don't know about everybody else, but I got goosebumps from this one. For myself, I have no other questions. But for those of you who are interested in becoming a mission-driven Muslim, Please reach out to us by email at mission.driven.muslims@gmail.com. And we'd like to encourage everyone to check us out on our WordPress site to see the latest references related to self-development and spirituality at missiondrivenmuslims.wordpress.com. Lastly, please share and subscribe to our channel. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And of course, if there's any questions or comments, please leave it in the comments below, and we'll get back to them as soon as we're able to. Thank you. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله